landing on your dreams is mandatory. There I was, overflying the beautiful city of Chicago, having passed through the three-dimensional airspace between O'Hare and Midway, a 2-mile narrow pathway that guides you through the beautiful city of Chicago from the lakefront. And as I was flying this airplane as the pilot in command, or as I call myself, the pilotina in command. You see, when there's not many of you, you can make up your own words. In fact, one day, I'll probably create my own dictionary. And as I was flying this beautiful aircraft, a light sport aircraft that the FAA had introduced in 2004 as a response to the declining population of pilots and to get people like I interested in this fascinating world of aviation, I found myself remembering a micro moment 9 years before that. You see, I came from Mexico when I was 14 years old. And as I was in love with amazing literature, amazing books, like Dale Carnegie, Napoleon Hill, I read about if you help enough people achieve their dreams, you will achieve every single one of your dreams. That became even more powerful when I became an aviator, because I knew that taking off was optional and landing on my dreams was mandatory. And as I found myself in this situation where I had learned English, and then to make it even more complicated, because I love challenges, a good pilot loves challenges, right? I started taking German. And that was in my effort to essentially make English a little bit easier. And as I found myself embedded in this amazing culture, with the dream of starting a business one day and all these aspirations, I knew that if I was able to communicate with people, I would be able to help enough people achieve their dreams. And that was my center vision for what I wanted to do in life as an entrepreneur. I wanted to help enough people achieve their dreams so my dreams would become a reality. Little did I know that at the age of 21, I was going to be diagnosed with cancer. I was told that I would not be able to have children. I was told that if it worked, that I had to be taking care of this for years and always be vigilant about the situation. But it wasn't until when I was 23 years old that I wanted to embrace this beautiful Indian culture, and I tasted a spice that typically you use to clean your palate after a meal. And little did I know that that spice was going to change my life. So back to this moment 9 years later, as I'm overflying the airplane, that little spice triggered a condition that I was born with that happens in 1 out of 150,000 people in this part of the hemisphere. And out of those people found, I happen to have type 2, which is only 2% of the cases found. I felt like I had won the lottery twice backwards. And that very situation ended up saving my life, and it's the reason why I'm in front of you today. When I was overflying the airplane as the pilot in command on the left seat of the plane, I realized that on January 9, 2007, I was laying in a hospital bed at Northwestern Hospital. I had tubes everywhere. And when the doctor walked in and said, "We don't know if you're gonna make it over the next 2 weeks. We have completely recreated your digestive system, because when we found this condition, we discovered that it was pre-cancer level 4. You were a time bomb. You would have died without even knowing why, but now the situation is that we don't know if this is gonna work. This condition is very common in young Japanese girls. And I said, well, I'm 100% Mexican. I mean, I even have the nopal in my forehead, right? I'm a Mexican. But we're all connected. And he's also said, and I also want you to know that we have no idea if you're gonna be fed out of a tube for the rest of your life. The next 2 weeks will determine that. I was determined to create success in the land of dreams. So my first reaction was, doctor, I have a question. He says, yes. He's thinking that I'm gonna ask him something about my life. And I said, may I please leave this hospital next Thursday between 8:30 and 8:45. I have finals and I'm graduating with honors. He looked back at me and he said, he smirked and he said, your positive attitude saved you. And in this moment of solitude, as he walked away, my entire life flashed before my eyes. I think, why me? That wasn't the question that I wanted to ask. I wanted to ask the question, why not? Why not me? What's so special about me that I couldn't experience this situation? Why me, and why not experience the beautiful awakening of this micro moment? And why not live as if every day were your last? And why not live intentionally and purpose? Why not lead with your heart in everything you do? And in that moment, that is exactly what happened to me. So as I'm overflying this beautiful airspace, I got reminded of that micro moment that saved my life. 2 weeks later, I came back to the hospital, and in a very casual conversation with the nurse, nobody could ever prepare me for this. I had had a tube with a drain for 2 weeks that nobody knew about. Nobody knew that that drain was gonna determine whether I lived or whether I was fed out of a tube for the rest of my life. I had a 5-month-old baby, a brand new business, and about to graduate. I just did not have the time to die in that moment. But I never told anybody. I wore long jackets, covered up. I showed up to presentations. I gave the best of me because I said, you know what? If this will be my last 2 weeks as a normal person, I want to make it count. And in that moment, overflying the airplane, as a pilotina in command, it all came together. I couldn't understand why the world of aviation captivated me. But I do remember the first ever discovery flight I had, thinking, no doors on the plane. If I have a prayer, will it get closer and faster to the heavens? And to me, I was clinging on to every prayer, every positive moment, every micro moment. Even leading up to that surgery, I remember the doctor saying to me, this was December 2006, he said, go spend time with your family this Christmas. Now, I said, well, I spend time with my family every day. But it clearly became a sign of make it count. Make the Christmas count. Make every moment count. So anytime that somebody says to me, oh, the experience was horrible, I can't believe this trip really was a horrible experience, I challenge that assumption and I say, you know what? Dissect that experience into micro moments. And I guarantee you that you'll find millions of micro moments within the experience. And that's what led me to begin living with gratitude and joy. I believe those are the two most powerful ingredients to achieve anything. So when you think of, my journey, what are the things that I need to know as a pilotina in command? I believe that there's no better and more amazing, aligned beautiful time to become a pilotina of your dreams. There's no better time to be Latina than today. Let me repeat that. There's no better time to be a Latina than today, this moment, this micro moment. And when you realize that your purpose finds you, that you might get away from your purpose, and you might go back, the backstage, back door, you might go up and down, but your purpose will always find you. And that's what a pilot does. A pilot lets the purpose find you, and you align with that purpose. A pilot knows that every decision that you make takes energy. And what's fascinating about this parallel with the world of aviation is that as you fly an airplane, for 5 months of my training, I started feeling the plane from day one, sitting on the left side as the captain, way before I got my license, to train you, to get you ready to have your own wings. And I remember that for the first 5 months of my training, I was so intimidated by the plane. Like you might be intimidated by a project, by a mission, by your team's amazing, aggressive growth plans. You might be intimidated by your superiors. You might be intimidated by your team members. You might be intimidated by what is happening around you. A space that you can't control, but you have to navigate through. And as you feel that, as you feel intimidated, and as you feel alive, and you feel real, and you feel authentically you, you know that it takes all of your energy, not 70, not 80, not 90%, because the forces of aviation tell us that there are 4 amazing forces that make an airplane fly. Now, I knew all of this, right? Because I read the Bible of the pilots, written by attorneys for pilots, where a third of this book is about getting your license. And the 2/3 remaining is how you lose your license. I read that. I know it. But what I didn't know is that even with all of that, it's always back to the pilot in command and the decisions that you make. So imagine an airplane at takeoff. The force of thrust has to be greater, without a doubt, has to be greater than the drag. And the force of lift, that beautiful wind just flying through the wings, has to be greater than the weight keeping you down. Imagine how powerful that is. A bird, an airplane becomes airborne by winning over the drag and the weight. And it's not at 70 or 80 or 90, it's at 100%. So every time you take on a new task, a new mission, as I call it, you give 100% of you. And then you become airborne, because the thrust and the lift have become the forces that elevate you. And what's fascinating is that as you encounter resistance, as you encounter naysayers, criticisms, but you get over the other side. One of my mentors said, everything you ever wanted is on the other side of fear. And I have proven that over and over again, because the moment that you become leveled in your flight, those forces cancel each other out. How magical is that? There's no longer resistance. That's how a plane actually flies. So those first 5 months were resistance. I could not be more intimidated by a plane, little but mighty with big wings, until my private instructor said, I want the back wheel of these wheels to touch the numbers on the runway. And I'm thinking, wait, that's impossible. This little plane, this plane wants to keep flying. It wants to go left, it wants to go right. And he looked at me, he said, you are the pilot in command. You land the plane where you want it. If I were to change the name of pilots, I would say we are energy managers. We are managing energy just like you. You are managing your energy. You're managing your purpose. You're managing your intention. You're managing everything around you to navigate and land like butter. And that's what we're doing every single day. So not let that for a moment think, you know what? I am a pilot in command. I am aligned with my purpose. I have the trust necessary to take off on every decision that I make. And I have the power of these wings to land on my dreams. So when you think about what does an actual pilot use for creating a flight plan? 4 key elements. On my birthday, or close to my birthday, in April, I have come up with this divine download, inspiration, to go to 4 states, because I'm turning 40, so I'm gonna go to 4 states. I'm gonna fly an airplane to 4 states to deliver 400 of my Pilotina teddy bears. Thank you. Now you might think, well, what does a teddy bear have to do with flying? When I was getting ready for my first solo, my friend said, "You're not alone. Here's Amelia, your teddy bear." As I had bystanders, my children, my private instructor, my husband, I had to complete 3 takeoffs and landings in order for me to officially become a solo pilot. And there were not a lot of other bystanders. I said, this could be the best day of my life, or it could be the worst. A very exclusive audience overlooking. And I remember I lined up to runway 27, called the tower, 448 Romeo Alpha, holding short on runway 27, ready for takeoff. Amelia sitting next to me, no doors on the plane. I take off, I feel like I'm on top of the world. I'm flying. I'm literally flying, and you know what? It doesn't matter if you're flying at 5 feet, or if you're flying at 7,000 feet. You become airborne and you fly. Those wings take you places that you've never been before. Those wings give you objectivity. They give you power. They give you a sense of perspective, right? I landed, I felt like I was on top of the world. But it wasn't until my second takeoff and landing that I realized that Amelia was trying to fly away from me. I grabbed her, put her in the back of my seat, and in the process of doing so, I elevated 200 feet above pattern altitude. When you have a beautiful day, a lot of other people are flying as well. So I called the tower immediately, a little nervous already, thinking, you know, I need to extend my downwind so I have enough time to land the plane and I have a way of enough distance to make a nice approach. I said, well, make it quick because we have 5 other airplanes waiting for you to land. So imagine the pressure. Needless to say, to this day, that landing was one of the worst. I bumped, I almost got out of the runway, and I was feeling all kinds of emotions. I was feeling embarrassed. I was feeling like I let myself down. I was feeling really nervous. I wanted to cry, but I couldn't really cry because all of my limbs were basically, limbs were connected to the airplane, my legs, my left hand, and my right hand. So with a broken voice, I had to call the tower back and decide, do I do the final takeoff or not? And in a strength, you know, I said, if I don't do this, I will never fly again. Everything you ever wanted is on the other side of fear. Everything. I knew that if I conquered that third takeoff and landing, I could do anything. But I had to fight in a matter of seconds to decide, is this what I want? You might find yourself in those situations. Is this what I want? It's scary. It's beyond my risk assessment. I don't know what to do. So I decided to take off. This time, I was a little bit more humble about the whole situation. And I called the tower and I said, 448 Romeo Alpha, holding short on runway 27. And then I hesitated. Then I said, ready for takeoff. They cleared me for takeoff. I lined up on the runway, full power in, I can still feel that energy. And the plane said, I'm no longer earthbound. I'm ready to fly. A little bit of pressure of the nose, and you become a bird. I landed there, and when we got back to the hangar, my instructor starts to cut the back of my shirt. And I said, wait a minute, this is a White House black market. You should have told me this, right? I mean, this is a new collection, right? He said, today, you got your wings. Flightplan for us. Number 1, pilot. Be the best pilot in command that you can. Self-analyze, self-manage, self-inspire, self-motivate. Be the best version of you every day, in every encounter, in every interaction. Get to know you. Get to know what triggers you. Get to know the food that you eat and how that creates an effect in your body. Get to know your emotions. Get to know you, the authentic, purposeful, amazing you. Be the best pilotina in command that you can be. Second, prepare your aircraft. What are the checklists necessary in your world, in your space, in your industry to become the best version of that mission? What does it take? There is equipment that I can fly without. You need to understand what that equipment is. You need to understand what is going to trigger the perfect landing of this particular airplane, which is your profession, your dreams, your book, your personal brand, your pathway, your legacy. It goes deeper than just the missions that you're doing here. All of us want to transcend, and that, preparing that aircraft allows you to see from a different perspective. Third, learn to navigate weather. Learn to say no. You have no idea how many times I've been stuck at airports, for 2 to 3 hours waiting for a storm to pass. Understanding that Mother Nature is an amazing force that you have to learn to navigate in. So for us, it could be industry regulations. It could be new rules. It could be pandemics. It could be any other situation that you, as a pilot in command, have to learn to navigate with grace and with vision and clarity. Then fourth is any other external circumstances that are keeping you away from landing like butter on your dreams. What else could be keeping you away? What else can you anticipate? You know, a pilot prepares for the best and expects the best and prepares for the worst. A pilot has a sense of objectivity. The moment that you elevate from any situation, you're able to see it from a completely different perspective. And that's what you can do today. Learning to appreciate every moment, every micro moment. Learning to be objective and clear with yourself. Getting to know you and what actually triggers you, that magic inside of you that drives the decisions that you make, and how that energy impacts everyone around you. I've taken over 100 passengers flying, and every time I give them a teddy bear. The first 100 teddy bears, my husband said, "Are you out of your mind?" By the 7th box, I said, well, when I have a divine download, I pay for it, number one. Number two, I don't know what I'm going to do with this, but I know they're meant to do something. But a pilot learns to follow your intuition. That's an amazing force that Latinas have, and it's incredible. How you feel is the best GPS that you can have. And by the 7th box, my husband said, well, I get it. Teddy bears are your thing. 1,650 teddy bears scattered in 4 continents, with the new 400 teddy bears as my way of saying, I want to be remembered as somebody that never forgot to land on their dreams, and somebody that became a dream catcher for as many people as I can encounter. So as you think of your own Pilotina journey, as you think of your dreams, and as you think of the challenges ahead, and as you prepare for the best, or expect the best and prepare for the worst, I want you to remember one thing, and that is taking off is optional, and landing on your dreams is mandatory. I am Pilotina. I do have a very special gift for all of you outside by the reception area. I have, from Mexico and Chicago, united 200 wings so that each of you get a reminder of your purpose, the energy that it takes, and the support needed with the wing, the heart, the wings, and the propeller, and your beautiful pin. So that's my gift to you. They made it. I was a little worried. I'm like, wow, we need to bring 100 from Mexico, 100 from Chicago, but they all kind of united, and that's something as a little reminder for all of you. And now I'd like to open it up for questions. We have about 10 minutes for Q&A. Anybody who has the first question? I know we have a couple of people with the microphone. Okay, if not, I can tell you.
I got one over here.
I can't see you, but.
I'm Jennedy from Nike, and honestly, as a Latina, I'm super inspired that you're a pilot. I don't know about you guys, but it's my first time seeing, hearing, knowing about a Latina pilot. So thank you for that. I kind of want to find out maybe what got you on that path. I don't know, maybe I missed that part. How'd you get into being a pilot?
You know what, it's interesting how a mission finds you, right? And I always say that when a mission finds you, you surrender, right? And you just embrace that and surrender. And my husband and I were actually race car aficionados. We were racing on the track before aviation found me. We went to a hot air balloon show, and I saw an aircraft, and I thought, I'm like, this must be like a little toy. And when we approached the company, they said, no, it's actually a flyable airplane. Wow. We purchased a discovery flight, and that's the first time that I felt, with a few seconds of touching that airplane and just feeling that three-dimensional space, it captivated me. I'm like, this is unlike anything I've experienced on the ground. I can't see, but I can feel the wind. I can feel every pocket of air. And in my situation as a Tsuktan cancer survivor, I said, well, you know, if I have a prayer, it'll probably get closer and faster to God then. So that was my first, my first reaction. But to say that and to love something doesn't mean that you now have to go and read that Bible for pilots written by attorneys, right? And become a nerd of aviation, right? It's a very different, one day I just said, I'm gonna be a pilot. I'm gonna be a pilot in command. And I didn't know that 80% of the people that began general aviation training never finish. And then I didn't see people that looked like me, and I'm like, you know what? But one thing that got me over the hump was every aircraft is designed with specific, clear parameters. The airplane doesn't care how you look like. The airplane knows about precision. So that's when I realized, you know what? I'm gonna go for this. I'm gonna make this happen. I'm gonna land that airplane with precision every time. And I'm gonna take as many people as I can with me. And that's when I said, I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna make this happen. And I've been flying since 2015. Mm-hmm. We need an airplane to get from the one side of the room to the other.
Hi, buenos dias.
Buenos dias.
My name is Marcia Gomez-Fiore, and also fellow cancer thriver. My question for you is, I'm making an assumption that this is probably a male-dominated field. How have you navigated, since you've become a pilot, when you get reactions or you get questions, how have you sort of navigated that field? No pun intended.
No pun intended, yes. You know what? Knowledge is a great equalizer. You know, it feels amazing to be in a room full of people that don't look like you. They're typically taller than me. I mean, that's a given. But, and to have an intelligent conversation about aviation, about any topic. I spent a lot of that time researching, getting better, you know, listening to case studies. And for me, I have taken it a step further. I created, some of you might have heard, Latinas in Aviation. In over 100 years of history, no one had ever thought about carving a space for Latinas in aviation. And with my knowledge of marketing, aviation, and the 32 books that I've published under my name and thousands of others and thousands of Latino stories, I decided to combine the three. And in 2020, I launched Latinas in Aviation, which now is about to launch Volume 3. All the proceeds from that I give to young Latinas, scholarships to young pilots. And I am very proud to say that last October in Maryland, there was an exhibit revealed, a permanent exhibit dedicated to Latinas in aviation for the first time in 100 plus years of aviation. And the wings that I'm giving you today are actually displayed at the museum. And my story of how I carved this little niche in the space of Latinas. Imagine that 0.02% of the population are pilots, only 5 to 6% on average are women, and 0.01 of that are Latinas. And I am proud to be one of the pilots and now carving the space and making waves in the world of aviation. I had just been invited by the Colombian Air Force to do the opening. The FAA had me as their opening keynote for all the federal employees. And we're also going on a national tour with the Federal Aviation Administration to bring Latinas in aviation and, you know, make this an impact. So one little tiny seed can take you places that you never imagined. We have time for one more question. Landing runway 27.
Hola, buenos días. Liliana Ceballos with Chevron. Thank you so much for sharing your story. It was very inspirational, and I really enjoyed to get to know you better. Reading part of your bio, I know that you said you published 31 books, and it looks like you've had a very impressive career. But you talked about also how to find our purpose, and it looks like you've done different things. So how do you navigate to finding your true calling and your purpose? I would like to see how, if you can share a little bit of that journey on how did you decide, or how did you find your purpose?
Well, it's my daughter, just about a month ago, she said, "Mom, I want to be a basketball player. I want to be a real estate agent in Beverly Hills. I also want to be an interior designer and a part-time pastry chef." And I looked at her and I said, "Juliana, how can you do all of that?" Just joking, right? Let's see what this 13-year-old's reaction was going to be. She's like, "Mom, if you can be a pilot, an author, an entrepreneur generating over $1 million a year, if you could do all of that, I can do that too." You see, purpose is typically two words, a verb and an adjective. And everything around the purpose comes together to make sense in the ecosystem of that. I have not been confused of what the purpose is for me, which is to elevate women. Elevate women. When I do that, and when I have clarity and objectivity of what my purpose is, then everything else that connects makes sense. I elevate women through my now 32 books. I elevate women with my speaking opportunities, speaking engagements around the world in 4 continents. I elevate women with inspiration every day with my businesses. I elevate women with a little plane. And all of it comes together. So you can be and do anything you want to do. Now, I will tell you that I don't text and fly. I don't create a marketing strategy while I'm flying the airplane, but you find your way of creating a pathway and defining those micro moments that always connect back to your purpose. And this is an amazing GPS to say, do I get involved or not? So when I got called to do this keynote, and I had just come back from a 21-day speaking tour throughout the United States, being away from my family. And when I told my husband what this event was, he says, make it happen, because that is your purpose. So your purpose will always give you the answers that you need and will allow you to surrender to the most beautiful opportunities that might not make sense to the rest of the world, why you do so many things, but if you can connect it to that purpose, it'll always make sense to you, and you will be the best pilotina in command that you can through that. So, thank you so much. Thank you, and like I said, remember to land on your dreams. Thank you.
Thank you again, Jacqueline.